Indonesia has outlined strict limits of its peacekeeping missions in Gaza as it prepares to send 1,000 troops to the enclave by early April. The foreign ministry stressed that it is a humanitarian mission and not a combat operation. It reiterated that the country's participation could be terminated at any time if the mission deviates from the agreed terms under the International Stabilization Force, or ISF. Around 8,000 Indonesian troops are expected to be deployed by June. The ISF is part of U.S. President Donald Trump's Board of Peace agenda. Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto is expected to attend the board's first official meeting in Washington this week. There have been concerns about Indonesia's participation, with several Muslim groups warning it could serve U.S. and Israeli interests. And Mr. Prabowo has argued that Indonesia could help stabilize Gaza by participating on the board. Well, let's get more from Mitch McCann, who is covering this story for CNA live from New York. Mitch, $5 billion apparently pledged towards the reconstruction of Gaza. Who's contributing and who's deciding where all the funds go?
Yes, good morning from New York. Well, put simply, that isn't clear. Donald Trump made the announcement on Truth Social that members have pledged $5 billion, but he didn't say which countries were pledging that money or provide any specifics around how that money would be spent. So there are, as there have been for some time, many questions about the Board of Peace and how these operations are going to unfold. Many of those questions may be answered at the group's inaugural meeting in Washington, D.C. later this week. It's going to be a very important moment, it has to be said, for the Trump administration. It is true that Donald Trump and his team played a key role in the ceasefire agreement in Gaza and helped secure the release of hostages. So they will be trying to build on that momentum, even though a number of months has passed. There are many key challenges related to this issue in Gaza at the moment. One is the fractured ceasefire. Now, Israeli troops continue to fire on Palestinians, according to reports in Gaza, and the Gaza-run health ministry says more than 590 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli fire since the ceasefire came into force. Another issue is the stabilization force you talked about. So far, only Indonesia committing troops are ready to go into Gaza at a time when it seems as if Hamas has not agreed to put down its weapons. So it's going to be interesting to see how it's going to be a peacekeeping mission rather than combat. Another challenge is the sheer cost. Now, the World Bank and the United Nations estimates that rebuilding Gaza will cost $70 billion. So while $5 billion is a lot of money, it is far less than what is needed to rebuild Gaza, according to those groups.
I understand. Now, you also talked about building momentum. How do you think Mr. Trump's planning to build that momentum by steering the Board of Peace towards, that broader mandate that they talked about of resolving global crises?
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting because it seems the immediate focus, as we've talked about, will be Gaza, if his Truth Social posts over the weekend are anything to go by. And that will actually please some, because that is what the mandate was at the UN Security Council for the resolution passed relating to Gaza and nothing else when it comes to the Board of Peace. It has morphed from this group set up to deal with Gaza, and now it appears on the surface as if it's a rival to the UN itself. That is what some analysts have suggested. Donald Trump even saying over the weekend that this will be the most consequential international body in history. The problem is that while Donald Trump as president will serve as chairman, and former British Prime Minister Tony Blair is also involved, many of America's traditional Western partners, I should say, have not signed up. For example, France, the UK, Germany, the EU are not involved yet, and neither are India or Russia. So for a group looking to be consequential, it still does not have some of the biggest powers participating. Donald Trump will be cautious about that, and he will also know that how the Board of Peace is presented to the world on Thursday might either encourage or discourage some of those partners from eventually joining.
All right, we'll leave it there for now, but thank you so much. Mitch McCann reporting for CNA live from New York.